All right, so let's get the party started. So this is the listing marketing maximizer, and how to turn your next listing into 5 commission checks. So this is a very cool tactic that I think is super timely. The ulterior motive, or not ulterior motive, the alternate title for this, or subtitle, was "Listings Make Babies. Let's go find them." So if you did not download the PDF, comment below, just type in maximize, and I'll get you to download all the slides, all of the trackers, and all that good stuff. And so here's the thing. Most of these trainings are going to follow a similar flow. There's a level of frustration in your business if you're not where you want to be financially, or you're working too many hours, or you don't have the freedom that you're looking for, or something is off. And we've got some things going on now, obviously, with the market shifting, that I want to be able to bring you guys tools that make it easier to grow and scale your business. So that's the real motivation here. The bottom line, though, that the market, for a bunch of different reasons, we're going through an economic shift. So that's the first. When I talk about a shift storm and it being here, the economic shift is probably the most concerning right now. So if you don't know exactly how you're going to kick the crap out of this shift, I think it's going to be a tough go for you. So that's the first part of the shift. The second part of the shift is that the industry is structurally changing. So we've got some big players in our industry. We've got brokerages that are trying to change the game. Ultimately, they see big commission checks and they want a piece of it. And then I would say the last part of the shift is that the consumer patterns are shifting in every industry. There's buyers, when they're in the market to buy a home, they know everything about that community, that house. They know more than agents do most of the time, because there's so much information out there. And then on the sell side, same thing, right? They know, they've done all their research when you come to their house. So the consumers have higher expectations, and for the most part, as an industry, we're not delivering. And talk about facing giants, and like a David and Goliath, we are fighting big players that are well capitalized, that are dictating how they want to sell us business, right? So I'll use Zillow as an example. We got out of the paid lead source game many years ago. I am a tracker. I'm a spreadsheet guy, so I always know our numbers. And when I was watching the lead cost on Zillow go up and the lead quality go down, I was like, this is not a game that I want to play long-term. I've got to figure out how to run the business where I'm not depending on someone else to be a better marketer than I am. And this is what this listing marketing maximizer is going to solve. And I'm beyond excited to let you guys in on the secret that I figured out. And then so follow that Zillow example. Now they're, Zillow Flex is really where they want to be, where they want to take 35% of the commission check. So consumers are feeling like they're smarter than we are. So there's commission compression. And then you have lead aggregators that are wanting more of that lower commission. Like, it's the perfect recipe. Unless you have like your stuff really together, it's going to be a challenging environment. Today, we're going to cover the let's maximize like one listing, turn it into 5 commission checks. So I'm here to help you, not just to tell you the bad news. The last point, though, is that, who doesn't know a handful, if not a dozen, real estate agents, right? So in our industry, generally, we are commodities. And we're at least seen as a commodity. I don't mean that you are a commodity and what you do is not important, any of that. When I first got into real estate, my first 10 months, I sold 27 homes. That next full year, I sold 44 homes. Take those 71 transactions, over $500,000 GCI. The mindset that I had was that I am a complete commodity. The perception from the public is that there's no skill set here. We just open doors, and it's a very low bar to entry. And I just had this mindset that I was going to create sales presentations and processes, and my marketing was going to stand for something and mean something. And so this has developed over time, but it's really hard to stand out in our industry, especially now. We are at a point where there's a maximum number of agents. Now we're just seeing rosters. They're going to come down dramatically. But generally speaking, we're seeing a massive amount, high rosters in MLSs, and the transaction counts are plummeting, right? So I can't tell which way you're seeing me on the screen here, but you have transaction counts going down faster than agent count. So less income available for more agents. There'll be a time 2 to 3 years from now where things will pivot back, and you'll have all the agents have gotten out, and then the income swings back up, and more income leads less agents. That's the good time, but we're years away from that. So we've got to figure out ways that we can do more with less and squeeze the lemons. So let's talk about, little doom and gloom there, right? I've kind of painted this like, picture, dug ourselves in a hole. Thanks, Lars, for telling me that it's a grim existence to be an agent. We're a commodity, right? So that is not what I'm talking about. And we've got a plan. I will say this, though, when I heard this tactic or this strategy or this system, this way of looking at your business, when you really get this, you will have this moment like, holy cow, I can't believe I've been going at my business so myopically. Like, okay, there's this here, and then I'll do this lead source, and then, I can do this here. And once I put this together for you, this keep it simple, stupid, the KISS principle is real. And this is Dwight from The Office, right? Great advice. Hurts my feelings every time. So Dean Jackson is probably one of the smartest guys I know when it comes to marketing. I've been in a very high level mastermind with him. And we were also both in Strategic Coach in Dan Sullivan's direct group at Strategic Coach. And I passed him. I knew who he was. He didn't know who I was. But I got to talking, and we serve similar markets. So one of the businesses he has, I think it's like lifestyle agent, listing lifestyle agent or something like that. So he doesn't do sort of high level coaching like Real Estate B School, which is my coaching company. But he has a product or like an inner circle, like a one-to-many deal. And we just got to talking about, and this was many years ago, about the market. It probably was in like when the market, not like the worst years of the Great Recession years, but it probably was in those years, 11, 12, and in that time frame where he told me he had a Facebook group, and he asked a question to the agents in his Facebook group. He said, hey guys, go back on the last 10 listings that you took, calculate the number of commission checks you received from each of those listings. And he kind of went through all the ways you could get paid. So you take a listing, and then you could do all these things to get paid multiple income streams. And what he found out was that the number was less than 1. So it was a more difficult market. So meaning not every listing sold, but there was no sort of deliberate path to get paid multiple times. And as soon as that's all, this conversation lasted less than 3 minutes, and I was off to the races. I'm a systems guy. I think in terms of systems, I'm like, man, that's interesting. That if you could focus on taking a listing, what are the good things that can come as a result of it? And like I said, I was off to the races. So here's the focus, right? Focus on taking listings. That's the number one thing. I've always been a slightly more listings focused business. We run at about 60-40 for most years. But what do you do with the listing after you take it? You activate your marketing system. So there's no guesswork in what we're going to build out here, what I'm going to go through with you. You take a listing, all of these marketing systems are activated, and you're initiating, multiple streams of income, or the potential for multiple streams of income. And ultimately, the goal is to turn one listing into 5 checks. Plain and simple. That's our goal. It's all about the money. Yes, we will provide amazing service, and I'll go through that here in a second and what that looks like. But here is how we get there, and this is where the rubber meets the road. The first thing is to identify the multiple income streams, and this is going to be slightly different based on your business, your market, what you're good at, what you've done in the past that has worked. A lot of times I've seen top agents and team leaders that have failed to scale or they stall in their growth. They've done something that worked and then they stopped doing it. And then they tried another thing and it worked and they stopped doing it. So as we go through these income streams, you're going to have ideas of like, okay, those can be where my 5 checks are coming from. So generally, these are the 5 categories that we'll go through and it'll help you. So number 1 is to take and sell the listing, right? It goes without saying. We want to take the listing, qualify the seller, take it at the right price, and get that listing sold. That's first and foremost. Every listing we take gets sold. If we take it at the wrong price, we have price improvement conversations. We've got sequences for all that stuff from Real Estate B School. But you've got to have, or even get like pre-approved seller price reductions. We've got addenda in our world to do that sort of stuff as well. You've got to take and you've got to sell listings, and that's the focus. Number 2 is to help the sellers buy. This sort of goes without saying, but there have been times where I have lost. I failed. I mean, we've since backfilled it into our seller intake to ask them questions about, where are they moving? And we get them an agent wherever they're moving in the country or in the world. But it wasn't always that way. So we would actually lose the opportunity. We either get a referral fee or we're helping them buy locally, and we incentivize them to use us on both sides. So this one's kind of a no-brainer, but if you don't have it as part of your process, you may not know, because there are coaching organizations that have you focus on this and only this, and nothing exists outside of this one thing. And those businesses are going to be burn and churn and really hard to run over the next 3 years, right? So we've got to help these sellers buy. And it may mean, if you want to have a listings focused business and you want to do listings and you don't want to work evenings and weekends, just get a showing agent, right? We have a system called the Showing Specialist Advantage. There are plenty of agents over the next 3 years that would love on your buyers and take you 100% out of evenings and weekends forever. And so another leverage point there. Number 3 is to generate a referral. This is where it gets fun. We have systems to deliver systematically a world-class experience to our sellers. If you don't have scripts built out, for every point in the journey, you take the listing, you set the appointment, the way you set the appointment, the video email you send out confirming the appointment, the way you show up at the home, the pre-list packet that's sent out, the way it's delivered with the script, the way you show up at the home, the seller survey that you give them as you do a tour of the property, how you present yourself, your listing presentation or your marketing presentation, how you present your paperwork, how you take them through, coming alongside them to evaluate the market, to once the listing is taken, the way it's handed off to hopefully you're not doing it. That's an administrative task that we've got to get out of. I talked about that on our last training. All of these steps are tightly coordinated, where the byproduct is that they're going to get an amazing experience. And so we've got to look for opportunities to generate referrals, multiple referrals. And there's a tracking mechanism that I'll show you here in a second. But you've got to be focused, right? If you're not familiar with how we structure businesses in Real Estate B School, attract, convert, deliver, scale. So the deliver part, that's our third driver. That's about systematically delivering a world-class experience while a buyer's looking for homes or a seller's on the market and also under contract, right? Contract to close. We're typically contract to close is where everything, all the goodwill that's generated in the initial phases of working with a client are lost in that final phase. So generate referral is it's a systems-driven approach, and we track it. The next 2 are awesome. Find a buyer. So the market is a little bit more forgiving with this now, right? When there was like 20 offers on a property in the first 1 minute it being on the market, you didn't have a lot of time to do digital marketing. You being in control of generating buyer leads online or from a yard sign or from an open house. There's lots of things. There's 5 or 6 lead gen levers here that you could employ. We have multiple yard signs, types of yard signs. Our call volume are 3x what a typical single yard sign is, because there's different motivations of buyers when they look at a property, right? So you need to have different calls to action on the property. But you need to activate the systems that are going to find a buyer or two that eventually use you to close another home. And this is another way that you'll get paid. This doesn't happen if you don't have the systems in place to do it. So all of these are systems solutions. And then find a seller, right? What system do you have in place? Do you drop a voicemail to circle prospecting? Do you call? Do you have a just listed, just sold program? Do you door knock? Do you hold an open house for sellers where they get to pick their next neighbor? There's so many cool things you could do. And if you have a little bit of leverage in your world in terms of a junior agent or a showing agent or a buyer agent, there are things you can do that even if you're not getting paid the whole commission check, all these systems have so much leverage baked into them, and they're business that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise that you can afford to pay a split on. It takes a little bit of time to set up the system, but after that, it is set it and forget it. What was that, Ron Popeil? Set it and forget it. And okay, so the second part here in terms of implementing this. So finding the income streams was number one. The second part is track your numbers. You need to actually know when you take a listing, how many times did you get paid on it? And there's a little effort involved here. This is not complicated by any means, but there's just a little bit of effort. You must know your numbers if you're going to win the game of real estate over the next 2 to 3 years. And guys, I'm talking about like multiplying your production, where if you could take, 2 listings a month, I'm talking about turning those 2 listings taken into 3 to 4 closing, into a 3 to 4x increase. So you take 2 listings, you can sell 6 to 8 homes per month with a very simple lean and mean, not a big team at all. I'm talking like a part-time licensed local admin and a showing agent or a junior buyer agent, right? You can get up to 7, 8 sides per month, very, very simply, just listing 2 homes per month. But you got to know your numbers. You got to track your numbers, and we'll talk about what that looks like. We have developed a very simple scorecard called a listing marketing scorecard. What is not shown on here, I pulled the wrong one. What is not shown on here, and this is an old one that we had, is that we actually use this. We have a version of this in Real Estate B School where we actually have the tasks involved in all of these, all the different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the right side, you can see there. We have the tasks involved in all of these in this actual spreadsheet. So this serves as like making sure the checklist to make sure we're doing all these different marketing systems. But you could see, right? You could see that, I forget what version of this was or what snapshot, but you can see, and it doesn't happen all right away, but you can see the first one, like this lasts for a long time too. So we may, on that first one there, we may have, another closing come in, a month after this report. So this is a living, breathing document, and we're constantly tracing. You're not going to get all 5 linearly. You may get 2 closed buyers from yard sign calls. That's going to be really prolific in this coming market, right? Get another listing. You may be a really good, maybe you are into door knocking. I was never into door knocking, but maybe that's your thing. And you can secure a listing on, every listing that way, or open house where you're inviting sellers, right? So just thinking around like these 5 buckets, what are the 1 or 2 things you can do in each one to increase your chances substantially where you're going to at least get, move the needle from about 1 is probably what you're running at now, or less, up to 2x and then to the 3x, where all your business planning then becomes, okay, these marketing systems are in place. I can generate, listing leads. And while I don't love it, this would allow you to, if you're not generating listing opportunities now, I don't love the lead aggregators that are taking 25, 30, 35% of commissions on the listing side. But if you must do that, if you're going to pay that much, right, 30 to 35%, it's so far out of our economic model by a factor of 3x. If you want a sustainable, scalable business, you can do that if you could turn it into 3 deals for very low cost. Spread that 30, 35% over 3 or 4 deals with this strategy. All right, so the last part is think through the implications of this. And I got into it a little bit here. In terms of your business plan for next year or the year after, what would it look like if you could turn 2 listings taken into four closings per month? A simple 2x factor versus like just the 1-to-1 that most coaches, train to, right? And what would it look like? Maybe you can increase the 2 a month to 3 a month, and then you can increase the 2 factor to a 3 factor. So every listing taking turns into 3 commission checks. Then you're doing 3 turns into 9, and all the systems are baked out, and you get some lower levels, still critically important, but lower level in terms of compensation. That person may make 15, 14, my market, 14, 15 bucks an hour, maybe up to 20. I'm in a major metro market, but we can still get really good administrative support for $20 or less. That person is doing the work to turn these into multiples of deals. So think through the implications of what it means. And then I'll leave you guys with one story in terms of a guy that squeezes the lemon, Dan Jones. When we started working together, he was coming off a year. He was actually on my real estate team. He left, he went on his own. His brother, you can see him there in one of the lower pictures, holding the board, and a part-time administrator who I think is still with him. This is, it's been a few years. He did about 65 transactions, 2 years off of my team on his own with his brother, Mike, and a part-time administrator. Started working with him that year. He did 105 transactions, but that's not the exciting part. To do the 105 transactions, it was a combination of 4 paid lead sources. He was having his lead sources in silos. We got rid of all but one of those paid lead sources and start to focus on how do we duplicate, like how do we maximize, a single lead source focused on, taking more of the leverage side of the business. And he went from 105 using 4 paid lead sources to 175. The only thing we changed from 175 to get to 225 and 275, we added back one of those 3 that we eliminated. So 2 paid lead sources to go from 105 to 275. His hours came down from 60, 70 plus hours a week to, he takes, I think, Friday's full day off. He hasn't missed, these are a little older pictures, but Charlotte, he didn't miss a single drop off or pickup of his daughter, Charlotte, first year of kindergarten, which is like awesome. I just talked to him recently. He says, nobody is going to out dad me. And he put a collage together. He would record at the end of the day, his daughter, Charlotte, running up to him. And he has a YouTube video. I get chills talking about it. And she just come like running at him and just like hug on him. Very, very cool. So this is what we covered today. Identify the multiple streams, right? That's critical. You have to track your numbers and you have to think through the implications of what we just went through. If it didn't quite hit you, you're in the group, go back and watch it again. Go back and watch it again and really let this set in because I think it's a big deal. Again, comment maximize below if you didn't get the PDF. And here's the thing, if you want to go further, faster, I will never hard sell into our world. But if you are insecure about where you're going in your business and you want to have a chat about it, all I have to offer you is a free business growth assessment. It's a 10-minute conversation. Go to revsgrowthassessment.com. I will dissect your business and we will figure out the one thing you need to do to move the business for the next 90 days and 12 months. And in this precarious market, I highly recommend you take advantage of it, is to arm you with a clear plan to profitably and predictably scale your business. It is just the stuff that works. I'm not a hype guy. So go to revsgrowthassessment.com and we'll see you on the next training. Much love, much respect. See ya.